Hello YouTube. I just wanted to show y'all my community tank. I haven't done any water changes in over a year. I use completely natural methods of fertilizing the plants, and I try and be as natural as possible when feeding the organisms. We have a self-sustaining population of, I think that they are Neocaridina shrimp. They like the harder water. I'm not sure. I don't think they're not the crystal shrimp, but they're on their third generation. I ordered a mixed bag on Amazon with red and yellow and blue and all of them mixed together now, and they've got all different patterns still. I'm sure one day they will revert back to one type, but yeah, we have some Malaysian trumpet snails in here. Got some pretty large ones in here. It's a pretty old tank. And some pink ram's horn snails. The way I got this tank to be so low maintenance is, one, has to do with the substrate. If you can see how deep the substrate is, that is about 15% of the whole tank is the substrate. And also the filter. The filter is just sand and gravel, same substrate as here. Sand and gravel. I could have just put it in the gravel, but I want to be able to examine it. And I just put some sand and gravel in there, and as you can see at the back, there's sand kind of bubbling up nice and slow. The air pulls this up. This is the easiest filter you could possibly do. I just tied a string around a wine bottle, set the string on fire, kind of rolled it, dipped it in some water. It's not perfect at the bottom. It's broken. Like, it's not like a clean cut, but it doesn't really need to be perfect. You know, as long as the water is flowing through there, it doesn't need to be even. You know, there's some parts that get more flow than others. That's good. That just breaks down all of the waste that I put in. I use these bug bites. Sometimes I'll put a dried piece of carrot in for the snails, or I'll boil a piece of, like, a stem of some collard greens. And yeah, these fish, I don't have to feed them every day. I don't have to feed them for months. I could leave here for 6 months, and I actually have done that. I've left for 6 months and this tank was perfectly fine. All the fish survived. As long as the power doesn't go out, you know, the light has a timer, and there's plenty of oak leaves. I always, every few weeks, I'll take a handful of oak leaves and just put them in there. And as you can see, they get broken down. There's a whole list of microorganisms in here. If you sit up close and you just look, you'll see some amazing things. There's always something. Look at that. That's baby shrimp right there. There's just so many little critters running around. It's an ecosystem. It's not just a fish tank. It's not just for fish. That's what people get messed up. They don't understand that this is its own world. You put glass around it. There's only air from the atmosphere, and that's the only external input that's coming in here from outside. Everything else is up to you. You need to make sure there's carbonate hardness. So we put limestone, and we have little shells all in here. So that will buffer the pH. So when organic matter breaks down, like leaves or fish food or fish waste, it creates humic acid. So that increases the pH of your tank. So you always need a buffer. You need some calcium carbonate, and when those things break down in acid, they actually create carbon dioxide, which is what plants need to grow. And the lower the temperature of the water, the more carbon dioxide can dissolve in the water. That's what you need for plants to grow. So I don't put a heater in here. I picked mostly cold water fish, like Danios and white clouds, and the celestial pearl Danios right there. Those are all cold water species. The tetras are the only ones that would die if I lost power. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the shrimp can survive sub 30-degree temperatures. The only thing that can't is the tetras. But yeah, we do lose power every once in a while, so I usually stick with cold water fish. And plants grow better in cold water, so I don't want to put a fish in a bad habitat. But I did, so. But yeah, it's pretty basic. Just deep substrate. We have soil at the bottom. I just picked some dirt up from underneath a tree where you find some like humus. You know, it's just some really nice black dirt. Just put it down there, and I fertilize with lingabenite fertilizer. It's so stupid. It's an organic potassium fertilizer that also has magnesium and sulfur in it. It doesn't affect the pH. So I just take a little ding ding ding, a little sprinkle of that every once in a while to help the plants with potassium. And my phosphorus comes normally from like the foods that I feed. I give them whole plants and like carrots and stuff, so that usually fertilizes the plants properly. I've put a couple root tabs in the past for these crepes. Yeah, everything else is, you know, I got this one from the San Marcos River here in Texas. I'm not sure what it is, but it usually grows all the way up here. And every once in a while, I'll just take it all out because it just gets too much and, you know, I want to restart. But yeah, I just thought I'd give y'all an update and a full kind of description of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, because this is no work. Also, I don't change the water, but you have to replace the water. I don't use sink water if I can. Like if I just cannot find anything else, I'll use a little bit of sink water. It won't kill it. But if you just use sink water, there's calcium, there's magnesium, there's salt, there's all sorts of things that do not leave your water. They don't leave unless you take them out. And it's kind of hard to take out an oversaturation of salt. You almost have to take out 100% of the water. So what I do is I'll try and save a little bit of rainwater off the roof. I kind of like to wait until it's the end of the rain, you know, when the brown water kind of runs off, it runs clear. I use that water. I use the water off the roof, or I'll buy distilled water just to top it off. So you never really want to change the water. You'd actually kind of mess this up if you decided to change the water. Every time I move, I take at least 50% of the water with me, and I've moved. I guess this fish tank hasn't had more than a 50% water change in 5 years. This is a pretty old tank. All these are very, very slow growing plants. I used to have faster ones, but I ended up taking them out over time, and they ended up dying whenever I'd leave this tank for 6 months at a time. But yeah, this is a very low maintenance tank. It did not happen overnight. It didn't look this nice overnight, but it was definitely a fun experience, and I highly recommend you do it. All you need is deep substrate, plant light. That's the most important thing, expensive thing that you need to buy. Air pump, pot, glass bottle, sand, dirt, plants, fish, snails. That's it. That's all you need. And you can have this beautiful tank, but you need all those things. You need at least a form of all those things. You need a cleanup crew. You need some sort of filtration, whether that be biological, like plants, or bacterial, like, you know, I guess that's biological as well. But chemical filtration is just not the way to go with carbon filters and all that replacement. The plant, they get carbon from plants. They burn trees and get the carbon and put it in. Why don't you just grow plants in there? You need a plant light. You cannot have fish and plants separate, or you cannot have fish without plants. They need each other. It's an ecosystem. Y'all are neglecting the fact that this is its own world, and you think that fish just survive on their own. That's why your fish die, because you're not paying attention to nature and how they are designed to perform. And when you do things the right way, it's a lot easier. And it's a lot prettier. Look how nice this is. It's so nice. So much more interesting than a little stupid fish tank with like SpongeBob decorations in it. Like you can be like, oh my gosh, that snail laid eggs. Oh my God, it laid eggs on the leaf. And there's a baby shrimp. Oh my goodness. See, like, why wouldn't you want that? And fucking getting water all over the place, changing your water every week. Why would you do that?